Well, hello there once more. It is me. Welcome to another Chit Chats with Git Cats. What number are we up to now? 19. They're getting away on us. This is good. Folks, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to have a bit of a wee chat with my friend Richard from Hughes Kettner, who, on top of being a good bloke, is a Englishman living in Germany. I'm going to find out what the hell an Englishman is doing living over there and find out all the latest from Hughes Kettner. Please welcome Richard Morgan.
Woo!
Hey, Rich, how you
Did
doing,
I get
buddy?
some applause or something? I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm going
Lovely to be
okay,
on.
mate. I'm hoping the internet works now because I went to do a live stream this morning with Dale Ryder from Boom Crash Opera, and you kind of need the internet for that. But thanks to the Australian government for giving us that NBN. You guys did really well.
Well done, Australia.
Yeah. Richard, an Englishman working for a German company.
Yes.
How was that?
I mean, it does happen. I'm not the only one. I've met two others during my time over here. And
Yeah.
I am actually German as well, so I've got dual nationality. I can do the lingo, all that kind of stuff, so that sort of helps. But
You did tell me that you did some translating of manuals and things along the way, but give us the rundown, mate. How did you end up at Hughes Kettner?
To cut a long story very short, I used to work for a British company in the business called JHS, not JHS Pedals, John Hornby Skews. And they work with a guy called Trev Wilkinson and many others, including Thomas Blug, on guitar brands like Vintage and Fret King. They have 80 different brands in their product portfolio. They distribute a lot of stuff. I used to work for them as the media relations coordinator. So I worked with artists, I wrote press releases, I hung out and did random stuff. I was at trade shows, that kind of stuff, doing things like this. Two of the brands that JHS distributed back in the day were HK Audio and Hughes Kettner.
Aha.
So I got to know the Hughes Kettner team through doing that, through being the contact. And I came to St. Wendel here in Germany, where the guys were based, to do product training, stuff like that. It was always cool. They got to know me. We got on pretty well. They're decent guys, most of them. And we had a pretty decent relationship. They realized I could talk German, that kind of stuff. They liked the way I approach work. At some point, I ended up leaving JHS, went back to my previous life, which was a freelance journalist and writer. Met the Hughes Kettner guys again, actually at a toilet at the Frankfurt Music Messe. So we were peeing together as you do in Germany. It's a thing, trust me.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, once we washed our hands, let's go and have a coffee at the Hughes Kettner stand. And I said, yeah, sure. This was back in 2014, it would have been. And I said, yeah, sure, let's have a coffee. I met the bosses. They said, hey, do you fancy coming across and we'll see if this works out? And 6 years later, I'm still here.
That's awesome. So
That's
it's
how
all
it
about the
happened.
networking, isn't it? Like if
It's
anybody
all about the toilet networking, guys.
Yes,
Get it
and washing
sorted.
your
Yeah.
hands. And washing your hands.
Always wash your hands.
Yeah.
More important now than ever.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
now that you've been working for Hughes Kettner for a while, how long? You didn't mention how long you've been with Hughes Kettner. How long?
Just
is that?
about 6 years now.
Cool.
Crazy.
Cool. So you're well and truly established in there. It's cool.
Pretty much a lifer, yeah.
Who were some of your favourite artists that you've worked with there, mate?
That's a good question, because we've got a very varied sort of range of artists who use the amps. And like I mentioned in the previous story as well, we have a sister company which is called HK Audio. You can imagine what the HK and HK Audio stands for. And we build PA systems there, so I get to work across both brands and meet artists from both. And across the years, I've done interviews and hung out with a bunch of pretty cool guys. On the HK Audio side, we had Ian Pace from Deep Purple, the drummer, who uses speakers as drum fills.
Cool.
And Nico McBrain from Iron Maiden as well. Super cool guy, super nice to interview. And after we chatted with him, we gave him a personalized speaker with the Iron Maiden logo on, which he was going to put in his restaurant. He has a restaurant in America called Rockin' Ribs.
Oh, cool.
Bizarrely. Yeah, he lives over there on the East Coast in Florida, I think, somewhere. And after that, he took us to his warm-up room and just played his warm-up drum set. This was in Luxembourg at the Rock Hole. Told us insane stories for about 2 hours and then sent us on our way. And that was a lot of fun. So those are two guys from the HK Audio side. Moving across to the amps, I've never met him in person, but Alex Lifeson is probably the one that people think of when they associate Hughes Kettner with artists. Mm-hmm. Maybe him and Nuno Bettencourt from back in the day. That's all before my time, unfortunately. The guys who I've had the biggest pleasure working with over the years I've been there have been guys like Josh Rand from Stone Sour, Tommy Thayer from Kiss, super cool guy,
Yep.
very professional. Amazing player, amazing tours, amazing live show. Perry from Pendulum, not really a guitar-based band, but a huge thing, a huge drum and bass deal. And Perry is an amazing guy, a
One of
super
the
player.
best live shows I've ever seen, man, was Pendulum in a small place in Brisbane.
An absolute pro, yeah. But I would say actually Hughes and Kettner is more thought of, perhaps unfairly, as a metal amp these days, like maybe because we're blue and shiny and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so we've got bands like Of Mice and Men, so Phil Manansala from Of Mice and Men plays our amps, John Brown from Monuments, and Ollie Steele from Monuments. They're a British kind of gent progressive metal troupe, and they have 4 of our Triumphs on stage when they can.
Yeah.
Black Spirits when they need to do a fly rig or whatever. They're super lovely guys. John's a great YouTuber as well, so you might want to get him on this show at some point.
What was his name? Sorry, mate, I'll take note of that.
John Brown.
John Brown.
Just Brown, yeah. You must know him. He's a producer as well. Produced all the Monuments records.
Okay.
Great guy.
Yeah.
So those are the ones that sort of spring to mind. Yeah.
Yep. History-wise, where does the Hughes and Kettner story start?
The Hughes and Kettner story starts about 40 years ago here in the part of Germany where I'm based, in Saarland, which is down near the Luxembourg border, near the French border. We're about 2 hours from Paris on the train. We're pretty much slap bang in the middle of Europe, geographically speaking. And there were 2 brothers, Hans and Lothar Stamer, their names are. Lothar was like a crazy physics genius, developing his own PA speakers out of his garage. And Hans was a banker.
Okay. Interesting.
Which, yes, he's still a banker today. He's still a financial sort of genius, still looks after that side of everything. And those 2 started to build speakers together. And the word got out that they were doing very well at building these pro audio speakers for bands to make their live sets louder. And at some point, they also wanted to go into guitar amplification because it's kind of a natural progression. And they did. And they never really had a decent name for it. And they wanted to come up with something that epitomized, I would say, the 2 sides of the Hughes and Kettner story, which is the German, let's say, engineer side, the nerdy side, the glasses, the physicist side. And they also wanted to have like the American sort of rock star side. So they knew that they wanted to have 2 names that fitted the brand perfectly.
Yep.
So they started going through phone books to find names that would work.
Yep.
They settled on Hughes pretty quickly for the American one. And then they were going through German ones to find something that fitted. And it took ages. And then suddenly, randomly, the name Kettner appeared. And it just seemed to fit together, Hughes and Kettner.
Yeah.
And that's how the name came about. And I don't know. Well, you know the logo because it's on the amp right behind you there in the picture.
It is.
The Hughes and Kettner logo was literally written by Stefan Fischer, who was the 3rd guy back in the start of the company days.
Yeah.
He wrote Hughes and Kettner down in his own handwriting, and that is the logo that you can see today.
There you go.
He's still at Hughes and Kettner now as well. So
is that right?
If you come across, he can write Hughes and Kettner in the official font, which is his untidy handwriting. Yep.
Okay. Well, that kind of tells me that it's a good company.
The one downside of that is that there is no Mr. Hughes and there is no Herr Kettner. You know, lots of people ask about that, but yeah, it does represent the 2 sides of the brand pretty much. Yeah.
Interesting.
The German nerd and the American rock star.
I would have always assumed that there was 2 guys started up with the name Hughes and Kettner, but not the case.
Nope.
No.
Sorry to disappoint you.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, you guys cover a whole bunch of different technologies. You've got your tube amps, which I've heard some mighty amps of yours over the years that I've recorded actually in other bands, the Triaxis, things like that. You've got the smaller tube amps as well, but you've also got, solid state. What's this one behind me?
The one behind you is the Black Spirit 200. And that's kind of...
Tell us about that technology.
Yeah, that also sort of relates to the original goal of Hughes and Kettner. So I mentioned Hans and Lothar, the 2 founding brothers, and I mentioned Stefan Fischer, who's always been in the background kind of doing strategic kind of marketing and that kind of stuff. The 4th guy in this whole thing is a guy called Bernd Schneider. And Bernd is the engineer who has been behind the design of every single Hughes and Kettner amp since day one.
Is that right?
So he's been with the brand for over 35 years. He's been developing guitar amps for more than 40. And during that time, we've made, like you said, we've done tube amps, we've done modelers, we've done solid state, we've done pretty much everything in between.
Uh-huh.
And Bernd's kind of his number one challenge and goal over that time has been to produce an amp that, in his mind, brings together, in a way, all the benefits of the 3 different styles of the tube, solid state and the digital, and brings them all into one analog solution that does everything. And that's what Black Spirit is. 40 years it took him to do it, but that little red box that you can see in the middle of the amp there, if you turn round, just that little red thing in the middle, that's what we call the Spirit tone generator. It's a little analog piece of circuitry which is made here in Germany and is sort of gooped up to keep it a secret what exactly it's doing. And that is the Black Spirit 200 technology. So the amp itself is fairly similar to the Grandmeister, which is a tube amp we do, which is 40 watts, has 4 channels, has all the effects, all the MIDI, all that kind of stuff. But the Black Spirit is powered by this Spirit technology. So technically it's in between tube and solid state in a way. There's no tubes in there. It's solid state, maybe with a bit of a twist, with some added extra bits and pieces. But what Bernd really wanted to do was get the world's first tubeless tube amp, I would say, in terms of how the amp sounds, but in terms of how it also feels and responds to your pick attack, to the playing dynamics, to rolling the volume knob up and down, that kind of stuff.
Sure. So you said about the gooped up electronics in there. Is that part of the preamp, or is that part of the power amp section? Because this is a Class D power amp, isn't it?
It is, yes. The Spirit technology is integrated within the whole circuit. So it interacts with every single stage of the amp, right from the input right to the output. Yeah,
that's good.
If anyone wants to see some beautiful graphics that we made about that, go onto our website. On the Black Spirit 200 page, you can see a nice little diagram where we show all that stuff. Yeah,
cool. Now, one great thing about this amp is that you can actually control it from an iPad. And if I press this little button here, we've got a screenshot. Oh, look, there's your face in the corner there. We can still see you. But this is running on my Mac, but it's identical to the iPad app, isn't it? To control the amp via Bluetooth. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
So you can store how many presets in it?
We say at first you can store 128 because, MIDI works on this 128 number. But if you're using the iPad app or the app there, you can actually build different libraries and you effectively build as many as you want, unlimited.
Cool.
So if anyone out there needs more than 128 different sounds, then enjoy, go mad.
I do have it hooked up, and I will have a little bit of play with it and see if we can come up with a cool sound. We'll turn some knobs, and we all know that presets, everything that's out there, when you have presets, they're overdone. It's not the... I'm going to tweak it with you live and see what type of a sound I can get out of it. But I won't do that just yet. I want to talk about some of the other things you got going. So, Triaxis, that's your big one, isn't it? No, sorry, what's it called? That Triaxis is...
Triamp.
Triamp. That was a bit of a faux pas, wouldn't it? Never heard of a Triaxis. What's that? Triamp. Tell us about the Triamp, mate.
The Triamp is...
Is that your flagship one, by the way, before I launch into that?
It's pretty much a flagship. It's a beast, effectively. Yeah. We're on the Mark III at the moment, so it's gone through 3 incarnations. The first one must have come out in the mid-late 90s, before my time. Yeah, maybe 97, maybe something like that. People out there on the internet, correct me if I'm wrong.
And they will.
The first one, they're ruthless, merciless, the internet are. So, just be nice about it. The Mark II would have been from the mid-2000s, and there was also a signature version for Alex Lifeson. The Mark III was pretty much the first project I worked on when I joined Hughes and Kettner, and that came out in 2015 at the NAMM show. We debuted that. So the Triumph is kind of Bernd Schneider's all-singing, all-dancing amp that can do everything. In some ways, it's not even a practical amp because it is loud. It starts at 50 watts and there's 3 pairs of power tubes in there that you can bring in. It goes up to 150.
What type of power tubes is that, mate? Is that 6L6s or EL34s?
Well, one of the beauties of the Triumph is that it fits any power tube that will fit in those sockles can be put in there. We have a technology called TSC, Tube Safety Control, that automatically sort of biases and looks after the tubes to make sure nothing goes wrong, and that makes swapping tubes in and out super easy.
Cool.
So the Triumph Mark III ships with 3 pairs in total, 2 pairs of EL34s and a pair of 6L6s. But you can put in, like I said, whatever fits. So at the moment, the Hughes and Kettner Office Triumph has KT66s and KT88s in it.
Wow, okay.
And the amp literally has 3 LEDs on it, similar to the LEDs on the Black Spirit there behind you, and you literally push them to bring in or bring out the power tubes.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So you're saying that they're all installed at the same time and you can choose rather
Exactly,
than
yeah,
having to pull them out? Wow.
Yeah, the amp itself has 15 tubes in total. There's the 3 pairs in the power amp and 9 in the preamp section. And yeah, the name Triamp basically means 3 amps. It has 6 channels. It has 3 independent power amps and 3 independent preamps. Right.
That's cool.
So
because they do sound different. They do sound different and react different. Yeah.
And it looks terrifying when you look at it. If you look at a picture of it, it looks like, I don't know, lots of people tell us we should call it the Knobmeister because it's covered in controls and that kind of stuff. But it's actually really simple. There's 6 different channels. You know, each of the 3 amps has 2 channels, and they each have their own little section. They have an EQ section, a gain, and a master control, and that's pretty much it.
Wow. Okay.
It's a super loud amp. It's not practical if you play at home because it doesn't take a load like the Black Spirit 200 or the Grandmeister. So you have to have a cab connected and you have to play it loud unless you're using an attenuator.
Yep.
But if you're a studio or if you're playing stadiums or bigger shows or whatever, you won't get a better sounding amp.
Great.
It's a behemoth.
And you were saying we were talking about Australian distributor. Should we wait until that's all official before we say who that is? You said there was some things in the works there, or?
Well, we do have a new Australian distributor, and I just checked on the website before we went live.
And it is up, isn't it? Yep.
They're on the website, so I don't see why I shouldn't say anything. It is Better Music,
cool,
based in Canberra.
Nice. Well, I'm going to have to see if I can get my hands on one and have a bit of a play with my mate, because that sounds amazing to have all that crammed into one amp.
Yeah, you got to do it. Yeah, I was saying, I met the guys a couple of months ago. They came across to Germany just before all the planes got grounded and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And lovely guys. They dig the whole rock and roll thing. And I think, yeah, get over there and have a play.
Well, yeah. I'm going to get my hands on one just for a week or two and crank it up into an attenuator or a load box or something, and just see if we can hear the difference in those tubes, because there definitely is a difference in feel and just the way it throws. I mean, people talk about tube amps and different transformers and things. The big giveaway for me is when you're palm muting, when you're playing sort of dunk, 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 dunk. You know, some amps cave in and that doesn't pop out, but I'd like to get my hands on one of those and tweak it just to get that to jump forward out of the speaker some.
It's an experience for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
What else you got in the line there, mate?
In the current line, so we've talked about the Black Spirit, we've talked about the Triamp, and in between that we have a couple of more kind of lunchbox heads, a couple of simpler options, one of which is called the Tubemeister Deluxe. We have a 20 and a 40 watt model, and they're much more simple than the Black Spirit that you have there.
Cool.
So on the Tubemeister 20 you have a clean and a crunch channel with a boost. That's pretty much it. There's no built-in effects or anything like that. It has the red box on the back, and you can play it silently. You can plug it straight into your audio interface, that kind of thing. But it is just 2 kick-ass tube channels. The Tubemeister 40 is 3, and that's 40 watts, whereas the Tubemeister 20 is 20. The name gives it away. And then, if you know the Black Spirit 200, then there is also the Grandmeister Deluxe 40, which is basically, I guess you could say, like a tube version of the Black Spirit 200. Okay. It has the 4 channels, all the MIDI capability, the same effects, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's tube.
Yeah, and a lot smaller than your Triamp. Like, because this guy's actually kind of small. That's why I've got it sitting on top of a rack there to give you an idea. I had that in the background. I was did an interview with a couple of guys from an Australian band, The Poor, and they saw it in the background, and they thought it was a big head, and I pointed over to it and mentioned something about it. And when I ran over and grabbed it with one hand and went, here it is, they were just like, whoa, what? Because they thought it was a big thing. It's like, no, man, 200 watts whacked into there. Now, you mentioned the red box. Now, that's something that one of the first speaker simulators that I ever played that didn't sound like arse was the red box. And you're up to, what, Mark 3, 4 of that now? What is it?
Mark 5.
Mark 5.
On the standalone ones, yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, you guys have evolved that a lot. And I was, as I said, back in the 90s, I had one of those, and it was the one unit that I could go direct out of like a processor or something and get a convincing sound. But it truly has evolved even more so now. You're not stuck with the one sound. I noticed that I can flick through different ones there. Popular unit for you guys still? And have we dropped out?
I'm still here.
Oh, there we go. I thought we dropped out for a second there.
No, I was just enjoying you in full flow. It was beautiful.
Okay, sorry, mate. No, it's my camera that's gone dead, so I'm just going to change that. Remember I said my battery? Yeah, I should have changed that before we started because we chatted for quite a while beforehand. But look at me stuck there. I'm going to change that just to you while I change the battery, and you tell us a little about one of your other products there.
Yeah,
Not
sure.
so subtle throw.
The,
Not so subtle throw.
The Redbox would be a really good one to talk about at this point. So the original Redbox must have come out a good 25 years ago. And what they wanted to do with that was give you guitar players a way of recording without having to mess around with microphones.
Okay.
And we're now up to the Redbox 5 in the standalone units, and they are basically little red boxes about so big, super affordable, and they go in between the tube amp head and the cabinet. Okay, and then you've also got an XLR out, and you can go into a mixer, you can go into various recording interfaces, that kind of thing. We also started to put them into amplifiers as well, so the Black Spirit 200 behind you there, and the Grandmeister and the Tubemeister and the Triumph also have inbuilt versions of that, and they let you, in certain cases, like with the Tubemeisters, the Grandmeisters, and the Black Spirit, record in total silence. With those amps, you don't even need to have a cab connected, So have you even got a cab in there? Yeah.
Yes, no? There's a Marshall box back there somewhere.
Yeah.
You can see.
Oh yeah, I can see that one.
Chair, actually, on the camera shot.
But the Black Spirit, you're running straight into your Mac, right?
I am. I'm coming out of that into my little audio interface. Now, you said that the Redbox, you could actually connect it between your speaker and the head. Is that right? So we'll take a tap out of the
with a traditional tube amp head and cab. Yep. That's what you would do. Yeah.
Okay.
You would run it in between, and you'd go into the cab as normal, and you go through the Redbox, and you can then go straight into the mixer as well.
Okay. Cool. I don't think the original one had that, did it? Or did it? I don't recall it having that
function. We'll have to look back.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing is the only one you can still buy is the Redbox 5, and that one definitely does.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Mate, I am going to have a bit of a play with that in a bit. Is there any other series of amp that you guys have got at the moment worth mentioning? Well, you guys don't just do amps. You do other things as well, right?
We do. Well as electric guitar amps, we also do a couple of acoustic amps. Are you into acoustic guitar at all?
I'm not, but I've got friends who are, and one of them's in the chat. I can see, big fella Link. I don't actually own an acoustic guitar because, as you're probably aware, a really good acoustic is a lot of money, and I don't play it enough to warrant spending that kind of money. And between my mate Link and Mikey, I know I could borrow something anytime, but they are listening, and I'm pretty sure they probably want to know about your acoustic amps as well.
But there's a couple of great acoustic brands from Australia, right?
There is
Australian, and then
Maton is
Clark or something like that. Yeah.
And Fennick Guitars, which is a new guy that's around my part of the Gold Coast here. Aaron Fennick makes a great guitar, he went to NAMM for the first time this year, and I've been trying to bug him to come on here, but I'll get him on. Yeah, but so what have you got in the way of acoustic amps?
We have two. I'm sorry, I'm just getting sidetracked reading the comments here. Bring back the big tube pedals. They are amazing. We're probably not ever going to do that, to be honest, but I would like to. We'll talk about that after, but first the acoustic amps. Yeah, so we have two. They're called the Era 1 and the Era 2. We've made a couple of acoustic amps over the years. One was called the Montana. There were a couple of others. They were kind of not amazing. They were all right, but a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, we got talking to a chap called Michael Eisenman. And he was the designer, the engineer behind some of the world's best ever acoustic amps.
Really?
A brand called AER, which you may or may not be familiar with. Check them out if you wish.
I have seen them, yeah.
And he had finished his relationship with those guys. He'd stopped working with them for whatever reason. And we got together with him on a consultancy basis and we decided to go for kind of the best acoustic amp we could make here in Germany. So it's all premium, built over here and stuff. And he designed it. And we came up with the Era 1 and the Era 2. And we have a couple of kick-ass endorsing artists who are playing them. Actually, we have guys like Tommy from Kiss who uses it for the Kiss acoustic shows. Before they play live, they play shows for fan club members, stuff like that. But we have Petri Sariola from Finland, guys like that. Alexandra Misko. I'm throwing out names and you probably have no idea, right?
I don't know them, no.
Guy.
But
check them out. They are the equivalent in the acoustic world to guys like Slash.
Yeah,
maybe.
right.
And we also have Aldi Meola. You must know Aldi Meola.
Yes.
Yeah, he enjoys our amps as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
In Australia, when you talk acoustic guitar, the one name that pops up is Tommy Emmanuel.
Tommy Emmanuel.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, Tommy, for example, has had an AER signature amp for years and years.
Really?
That is his brand. It's in his DNA, and that's super cool. If he ever decides to switch, I'll be there, but he won't. That's his thing, and that's all cool.
Speaking of Tommy Emmanuel, and a little off topic here, but Tommy's been a household name in Australia for a long time, and he was almost like a variety show guest, judge, panelist kind of thing. And I was telling somebody about that. It was like, man, I don't think the general public took him very seriously over here. Because he was, as I said, he'd always be the guest judge on such and such, and he'd do his thing. And I think we got oversaturated with him back in the 80s and early 90s. And then he kind of disappeared for a while. But he went to Nashville and hanging out with guys like Chet Atkins. And that's when he truly became Tommy Emmanuel certified guitar player, as he goes by, CGP. So it's funny talking about Tom. I actually had a photo shoot with him. Back in 1991, the previous year, I'd won the under 18 section of a guitar competition around here, and they called me up and they said, "Hey, Tommy Emmanuel's at this. It was the Gold Coast Blues Festival back then, I think it was called, and I had to meet up with him. And he's opened up his case, he's given me his guitar, and I go, I haven't played my guitar, man." And I just looked at him and I said, "No." What the hell do you play? I don't play acoustic. What are you going to play on an acoustic guitar in front of Tommy Emmanuel, man? It's amazing.
Get him on the show.
You know what? Jason McNamara had him recently. And that was one of his first guys that he on there. And I tuned into that. It was fantastic. It was a really, really good thing. Now, you mentioned some Finnish guys. There's some great guitar players in Finland. Speaking of which, we got Vladimir there from Catpick Studios. He's Finnish. But Mika.
We got
a couple of other guys whose names don't really stick in my head because I can't pronounce them so well. What is it about Finnish guys?
Finnish guys are awesome. So we got Vlad from Capex Studios. We've got Mika, Mr. Fastfinger. Mika is, of course, a Hughes and Kettner endorsing artist as well.
Yep.
Plays the Tubemeister Deluxe, and he has I think he has a Tubeman preamp on his studio rack at the moment.
Sure.
And then on the acoustic side, we have Petteri Sariola, who is just a mind-blowing acoustic guitar player. He's one of these guys who has the modern sort of percussive style sort of nailed down completely, and just Finland Suomi. I hope I said that correctly. I've just read a comment. I hope it was nice.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but they're talented guys up there, and I think maybe it's those long Scandinavian winters where nothing else is happening. They can either read true crime novels or they can learn to become guitar players. That's my theory.
Well, I mean, the weather-wise, I saw Mika posted just recently, and it's that spring, and he's outside, and it's snowing, and he's like, "Oh, beautiful spring day," and I'm just going, "Whoa!" And I've been posting some pictures of my part of the world, and he's been liking that, going, "No way, mate, you got to come over and visit sometime." The Finns, they're lovely guys, lovely guys. Let me see. Shall we have a bit of a play with this thing back here and see what kind of a sound we can get out of the
let's
Black
do it,
Spirit 200? So give me a second. Now, I'm not going to play anything fancy, as a few people out there know. I get a bit of tendonitis.
Do you want to tell the guys how you got your hands on that Black Spirit 200? Is that a story you can tell?
Well, I went to an event called 42 Gear Street, didn't I? And I met somebody from Hughes and Kettner, which would be you, and you showed me this, and I was like, "May I please have one of those that I can show off to the world?" Because I was really impressed with it. What we haven't mentioned about it is that it's available in a floor unit as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a combo.
And a combo. Okay.
Yes.
So the floor unit is something that blew my mind. It wasn't released at the time when I had to play with it, but it's basically that, and the foot controller. Let me just go to that so we can see it. It's this guy and the foot controller that comes with it, rolled into one. which is so bloody convenient because you can just plonk that down. It's got all the amplifier built into it. What else is different? Tell us the difference between the head and the floor unit before I actually have a bit of a play with it.
Okay, so you know the head unit for what it is. It's a traditional amp set up in a way, but it has all these extra features like effects and presets and MIDI, and you really need a foot controller to make the most of it, because you can't really save all the sounds on the amp itself. And that is the issue that we addressed with the floor amp. We knew a lot of guys were saying, we have the Black Spirit, we have the floor amp, can we somehow get it together? And we almost literally crunched the two into one unit, and that's what the floor unit is. It is exactly the same features as on the Black Spirit 200 head, with two extra little ones. No, three extra little features.
And what are those?
It has the foot controller on it. Okay, so on the foot controller part of it, you have 7 buttons in total. Okay. And normally they help you switch between the 4 different channels, or they help you switch between presets and go up and down preset banks. We have 2 modes on the foot switch. One is called preset modes, which is for all the MIDI presets. And one is called stompbox mode, which is for when you're using it like a traditional amp setup. So it goes between the 4 channels, turns the effects and the boost on and off, and that's it. We put a new mode on the floor amp mode called Direct 7, which literally gives you 7 presets. So the 7 buttons, you can assign a preset to each button. So if you're a guy who's playing live or whatever, and you literally only have 7 sounds, you don't need to mess around with different preset banks or anything like that. You've got 7 controls right there. The second extra function is that on the left-hand side of the floor amp, we have 2 new pre-loops in there. And those are kind of like what you would have when you have a loop switcher for gain pedals, that kind of thing. So let's say you want to stick a tube screamer or something like that in front, or a clon or something like that. You can stick them into their own independent circuit. You can either activate that or deactivate it, and when it's deactivated, they're not in the circuit at all, so they're not affecting your bass tone. Cool. And then finally, on the back of the floor amp, there is an extra monitor input. So it's an XLR that you can send to front of house or something like that. If you're using in-ears, that kind of thing, it's perfect to get a decent live mix in the band context.
Nice.
Yeah, the head doesn't have that, and the combo doesn't have that either.
Okay. So you mentioned having the loops in the pre-loop, so that's in front of the preamp section of it. Did you say there was
exactly? Yeah.
Did you say there was 2 loops, or am I hearing things? Yep, there is. Yep.
There's 2. Yep.
Yep. One pre and one post. Which brings me to: is it an all analog preamp design on there? Does it, when you're hitting it with pedals in the pre-loop, is it analog that it's hitting?
Yes,
it is. Okay.
So the amp and the circuit is all analog. The only digital stuff in there is the switching and the digital effects, obviously.
Great. We like that because
it's like, you know what a lot of companies are saying at the moment? They say analog heart, digital brain. I guess that's pretty much what this is.
Sure.
So you don't have to have any digital in the signal at all if you don't want it.
Cool. So I'm not 100% convinced that digital reacts to pedals the same way that analog does, and I'm always wary of clipping AD converters and the like, and with those kinds of things, that there is a slight latency, and I notice I do adjust to it. For smaller gigs previous to getting this, I was playing through an iPad and Kempers and Axe Effects. That little bit of latency, you adjust to it in no time, but I'd much prefer an analog design. So, shall we have a bit of a play and see how it sounds?
Have you tried the Strymon Iridium yet?
No, I haven't.
Is
that going to just totally blow everything that I just said?
Well, it might. I mean, I've only played it a couple of times, and once was at NAMM, which is not the perfect place to check stuff out, because it's loud and there's people doing stuff everywhere. But it could be a bit of a game changer.
Okay. And what is the Iridium? What is that, like an overdrive, or is it a?
It's like what do they call it? It's a preamp and sort of a cab simulator at the same time. Okay.
Cool.
So you literally run that before and after your pedals, and you can go straight into a cabinet with it, I think.
Nice.
I actually don't understand 100% what it is, but it is Strymon's attempt at doing this, and it has 3 amps on it. There's like a Fender, a Vox, and a Marshall, different IRs for each one, blah, 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 blah.
Uh-huh.
Check it out.
I will.
Could be the one that changes your mind. Yeah. I don't know why I'm giving another company like positive words, but whatever.
Networking, that's why.
This is the Hughes and Kettner show.
Yeah, it's just...
Strymon, eh?
Yeah.
Nonsense.
I might have to reach out and see if somebody from Strymon wants to come on. I don't have any connections there. Perhaps you could set one up for me if you know anybody there.
Oh, I think they're a tough company.
Are they?
Do you know Rhett Shull? Do you know Rhett Shull?
Yep.
Talk to Rhett.
I know. I don't know him personally. I know of Rhett, but...
Oh, well,
yeah.
talk to him anyway. He's the boy there, yeah.
Why not? So, as I said earlier, presets generally sound pretty crap. So I'm going to do a bit of knob tweaking with this and just see if I can come up with a cool sounding patch. So I'm going to cut to the screenshot of the app. And as I turn the knobs, I'm actually going to turn the knobs over here, which will show up on the screen as well. You can see that, folks. I will do some of that, and I will also do a bit of mousing over there as well between the two. It's probably easier for me to do it on the screen, purely because of the way that's lit right now. I'm going to have a little bit of hard trouble reading that. But I'm just going to try and come up with a nice, good rock and roll sound that I could use. And I'm going to test things like how it reacts to the volume knob rolling down, just see how some of the different red box models sound, etc. But what I'm going to do, Rich, is because I'm going to be coming through my monitors, I'm actually going to push this way out a little and probably won't talk so much. So bear with me if I don't say much. I'll see how it goes. Are you folks hearing that out there if I play? So I'm going to turn off. Now, if I can hear myself through the monitors, but it's not feeding back. That's okay. I'm going to go screenshot so you can see what I'm doing. I just turned off the delay, the reverb. I'm going to start at the top. What do we got here? We've got a reverb, effects loop, delay. That's all off. Modulation. There is a noise gate. I'm going to turn that right off for now. And I'm just going to start with the different channels down here. So clean sound. That's quite nice. I'm going to have a bit of a play, pull those mids back. Bit of bottom end on that. Let's give it a bit of...
I notice you have the sagging control on 1.
On 1, yes. Tell us about sagging,
Yeah.
Richard.
Sagging is kind of... It's one of the coolest knobs on the Black Spirit 200, I would say. It's back in the day... when we had non-master volume tube amps, you'd have to kind of really push them up to get to that magic sort of tone.
Yep.
And they'd start to react differently. You'd start to get, more harmonic overtones. It would start to compress a bit. You'd get to that magic sound that we always talk about when we talk about magic guitar sounds. Yep. And that was when the amp was effectively sagging.
Okay.
And what the sagging control lets you do is replicate that effect, but at any volume level.
Okay.
So it will add a bit more compression, a little bit more gain too, and it should feel differently under the fingers. So have a twiddle with that knob.
I'm just looking for it. Where is it? I'm hovering just above the...
It's just next to the reverb knob.
Reverb is up there. In the app or on the actual unit itself?
I'm looking at the screen right now on the app display.
Okay, reverb.
So kind of top left.
Oh, sagging.
Sort of
okay, I was reading the top there. It says effects loop. That's why I'm coming across as a imbecile right now. So I'm going to turn that up a bit. You know what? You're probably best off just cranking the crap out of it. Oh, I can feel that. I can feel it compressing. This is still just the clean channel, by the way. If I pull that...
Yeah, if you crank everything on that clean channel, you get a pretty good sort of plexi sort of a sound, like a pretty good crunch sort of rhythm tone.
Okay, so that's the gain wound up a little. And if we give that a bit of the sagging over here. Pull that reverb back a touch. Cool, okay. Let me just play with that a bit. I like a bit of low end. Now, the presence and resonance, is that affecting the power amp, or is that actually going to affect what we're hearing now out of the red box out?
That will affect what you're hearing out of the red box
Okay,
out.
so I like a bit of lows in there. I'm just going to turn this up quickly to kick my sub in. It's so if I get a bit of feedback, just that should be enough to kick that in, so I can hear what's going on. Presence, that just takes a bit of that narkiness out of the top end.
So do you dial your presence back a little bit normally?
It depends on the sound, mate. It depends on the sound. So if you guys see my mouse jump everywhere, I've had issues with mouses and all my mice have died. I'm using an old one that occasionally jumps across the screen while I'm using it. I just did it then. Now, that's with the gain cranked on that. Now, I notice there's a boost button over there. Shall we engage the boost? And what will the boost actually be boosting?
The boost is another Hughes and Kettner, Mr. Kettner nerdy invention, and we call it an intelligent stomp boost.
An intelligent...
So the boost does not... Intelligent stomp boost. The boost does not always do exactly the same thing.
Oh.
It will check out how you're set, what channel you're on, what kind of gain level you're on, blah, 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 blah. And it will take you up a notch, whatever. Whatever you're doing, the goal of the boost is to take you to 11.
You tricky...
So imagine it if you're... Yeah.
Tricky motherfuckers.
Exactly. So if you're on a totally clean setting...
Yeah, that's the clean channel.
Totally classic clean sound, it will give you more of a clean boost, more of a dB boost. If you're on more sort of a crunchy rhythm tone, it'll give you more of a cleaner, creamier lead sound, that kind of thing.
Okay. So is that boost foot switchable?
Yes,
you can assign.
Absolutely.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Just going to check that out a bit.
If you
Sorry, mate. I was trying not to talk over you to play over you.
Yeah,
as you're talking
I was
there.
trying to. I started talking while you were playing and realised I should stop. But yeah,
That's why I stopped.
yeah.
I'm going to play with the red box over here, the different cab simulations. So that's on cab 1. Oh, look at that. It brings down a little pop down, and I can see that was a modern Thiel port. I don't know what that is.
Tila.
What
is how I pronounce it. Actually, Mr. Tila was Australian.
Really?
As far as I know. He was a physicist. There was a guy called Tila and a guy called Small. So you will often hear the term Tila Small cabinet.
Okay.
And that is a kind of cabinet design with a bass reflex port, that kind of thing. If you guys want more information on that, go onto the H&K website and look at the Black Spirit 200 combo, which features a Tila small cabinet construction, or go onto the TS112 Pro cab site. There's more information there. But basically, it is the way the cab is constructed in order to get the biggest possible sound out of the smallest possible enclosure.
That is very cool. Okay, I'm going to go through some of these other...
Tila and smaller, 2 guys.
I'm going to go through some of these other cabs and just see what that brings. And bear in mind, folks, this is still... I know that it says Modern Crunch. That was the name of the preset that I went to, but I'm actually on the clean channel. It's just that I haven't renamed the preset. So let's go through some of the cabs and just hear how they sound. So 1x12. Now, I like that straight up. That's a lot smoother for that driven sound that I'm going for right now. I'm just going to wind back my volume knob some. Let me just cut so you can actually see me. Oh, you can't see my guitar. No point in seeing me. I'll go back to the software then. Oh, it cleans up nicely. So I'm just winding back the volume knob. And I like that if I can just not have to change pedals, but just... wind it up a bit. So bear in mind, that is still the clean channel with the boost on. I'm just quickly go through... I'm going to turn the boost off because... it's still got that dirtiness when I wind it up some. So another cab. What do we got? Vintage open back. We've got El Nicole open back. I think when we get to the distortion channels, we'll really hear the difference in these.
Yeah, for sure. When you get more high gain in and you go to the 4x10 or the 1x12s, and you really notice, okay, this is different.
Yep. Okay, so there is also delay in there as well, which I haven't turned on. I'm going to turn on that delay. I'm actually going to pull the gain back a little and just see how it goes. I'll clean it up a little bit more. You know what would sound really nice on that, mate, is some modulation effects, right? And it just so happens...
Well, how practical that they're built in.
Why don't we hit this button that says modulation, that is set to chorus right now. Turn the intensity up. Oh, look at that. Nice. If I want to speed that up, we get some nice Leslie kind of sounds out of that. Nice. Okay. I'm going to pull that gain back even more, get it nice, and turn the volume up. Right, turn that right back. You're not hearing a direct feed of that, Rich, so you're just hearing some ambient noise, but you get the idea. Let's slow that right down. Oh, that's nice. I'm going to turn the level of the delay up some. Now, one thing that you did tell me in Germany, which I don't think you've mentioned tonight, that just popped into my head, is by doing it from the app, you actually get the tap tempo function, right? Which isn't...
Yes.
That, is the tap tempo on the floorboard? I know the head behind me doesn't have it. Does the floorboard have a tap tempo?
Yes.
It does. Okay.
Yes, the tap tempo is on the floorboard, yeah.
Okay, so if I play about a 1, 2, 3, 4, let's try that. Nice, okay. Okay, so that's sort of quite loud. And that's a very digital delay sound to me, where the repeats are very close to the original sound, not like some of those bucket brigade type of delays where each repeat goes and loses the top end. It's either one or the other, isn't it? And if you're going to have just the one delay in there, sometimes that bucket brigade sound is desirable. Other times, not so much, where you want it to sound like an instant repeat that's the same as the first. So this is more like a digital delay, which there's no good or bad. They're just different. So I'll keep on playing around with this. Let me go back to the screenshot.
Let me just ask you then at this point, Rick, if you were designing a Black Spirit 200 yourself and you could choose between digital and more analog delay sound, what would you go for and why? If you only had the one.
If I could only have the one, I'd go analog style. And why? Because I like to use delays more of as an ambience, and by having, let me just switch this so we can both see us, mate. If I wanted something where it was like an effect, where it sounded like I was playing twice as many notes that I really am playing. Now, extreme. Now, Nuno used to use Hughes and Kettner amps there. He had his... Did he have a signature model? No. He was using the Preamp, wasn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So Nuno's Flight of the Wounded Bumblebee, as it's called, his little piece, that's a digital delay. It sounds like he's playing 1,000,000 miles an hour, and he's not. It sounds like he's going, and I've got a clean sound here. It's not the right sound. It sounds like he's playing that. He's not. He's going. And that's your digital delay, because it's an exact copy. Bump, 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 bump. Whereas an analog goes bump, bump. Why do I like analog? And it's different. I'd like to have both, access to both, but for something like this, you're not going to try and be able to get both in there, because I like it to be an ambience in the background rather than a reverb at times to fill. But what I'm actually playing sits at the front and doesn't get lost in the repeats. But having said that, you can do that with digital style delays as well, just by turning them down a little. So there's no better or worse. It depends on the situation, I feel, anyway. How about yourself?
Yeah, it's a tough one. And I'm actually in a position like you, whereas I see them as being two totally separate things.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm not really a heavy player. I play often more cleaner sort of stuff, and I like the warmth of an analog delay that kind of fattens up the sound a bit but does not get in the way of stuff.
Yeah.
And like you say, you can dial that in with a digital delay, no problem. But for me, I prefer to use a digital delay when I'm using it for the real thing, which is doing that edge kind of thing, or that Flight of the Bumblebee sort of stuff, where you really know what's going on and you're doubling notes properly. Yeah,
absolutely. I played guitar for an Australian band called 1927 that you've probably never ever heard of. I wasn't an original member. I just got roped in to do a reunion tour many years ago. I'm not that old, in case anybody. They had hits back in like the late 80s, so I'm not quite that old. I am old, but I'm not quite that old. But I did do a tour playing guitar for them, and I can remember giving the singer a call when I was learning the songs off the record, and saying, all that fancy delay stuff going on, man. That's me, yeah. And the singer said, no, that's me. I do all that. You just go gong 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 gong. I went, oh, that's my gig. And what he did was very much the digital delay sound like we've got in this, where you play half as much and twice as much comes out. But I'm going to check out some of the other modulation effects while I've still got this clean. So that's the chorus. I'm going to wind that delay back a little, huh? So, flanger. You know, when I first started playing guitar, I thought it was called a flanger. I remember going to a music store and saying flanger, and they laughed at me, and I was like, am I saying it wrong? Yeah, it's a flanger. Yes, I do know why it's called a flanger. I just thought maybe that might be a bit of a pop quiz question that you were going to throw at me. Do you know? You know, right? No, I'm not being rude. You know why it's called a flanger? Oh, you don't?
I got no idea.
Oh, really? Okay. I'm going to educate you on something.
Please do.
It's recreating the sound. I'll just put my guitar down here. It's recreating the sound of when you've got two tape machines playing in unison and you hold your finger slightly on the flange of the tape to slow one down and speed it up. That's why it's called a flanger. That's how they got flanging originally. Beatles.
There you go.
Yeah, you thought I was being rude. You thought I was Henning and I was going to say penis.
I absolutely did. Oh, well.
Yeah. No,
but this was better because I really learned something today.
Yeah, no, that's why it's called a flanger. Is that it was the effect of holding your finger slightly on the flange of the tape reel. I come from a recording background, so I taught Richard something. Okay, let's do the old intensity right up. Can we get? There is it. There it is. I'll turn it up a little. Oh. I'm not a big flange guy. I've never actually owned a flanger except for inside multi-effects units. Phaser. I'm going to give that a nice bit of reverb and see how ambient. Bit more of that delay there. Turn that right up. Wow, oh, you can really hear that now. Nice. Slow that down a little. Cool. Okay. Tremolo. Speaking of general knowledge, you do know that people incorrectly call a vibrato system on a guitar, a tremolo, right? And that tremolo,
yeah.
It's Leo Fender. He
was his fault, right?
It was.
He did that first, yeah.
Yeah. Turn my delay down a little on the reverb. We'll give it heaps of reverb. Let's see. I'm trying not to play anything by anyone so I don't get any copyright strikes. You know how hard it is to make something up on the spot? I want to play the Doors or something. Okay, that's it really fast. Nice. Yeah, Gabor's just confirmed that. That was Leo Fender's mistake. That's what I thought. Nice. Okay, mate. So I've got the power amp section, noise gate. I'm going to get into that when we get into some dirtier sounds. Preamp. It might be time to check out some of the other channels, huh? So I'm going to actually turn off the mod, delay, and reverb for now. And hopefully there won't be too much a volume jump when I go to Z Crunch. Hey, that's cool. Before I go reaching for any EQs, because he wasn't a musician, that's right, Gabor, Leo Fender could not play guitar. He just listened to them. Okay, I'm going to go through those cabs again before I start even reaching for a cab. You know what? I'm going to set everything to 12 o'clock. Wait, hang on. How about I go to that screen so people can see what I'm doing. Set them all at 12. I'm going to pick my cab first. Really changes the character of the sound, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, it does, yeah.
I like that one. That was cab 5. Do you have a favourite cab?
Yep, cab 5.
Cab 5, that's yours? Okay, because as soon as I went to that, I just went, oh, hello.
Yeah, cab 5's like the vintage 4x12, and it works with everything.
Yep.
You know, some of the other cabs they don't sit well with metal maybe, but they work with clean, or the other way around. But number 5, it's my go-to for everything.
Yeah, cool. As soon as I clicked on that, I went, oh, hello. Seven sounds to me, I know my monitors, 7 sounds like that would sit in a mix really well. People quite often confuse what sounds good just playing on its own with what actually sounds good in a mix, and that's something some guitar players need to learn. Is you don't want too much low end going on to be fighting with the bass, just for it to sit in its own space in the mix. All right, I'm just going to quickly go between a few of those because 8, 7, 5. That's 4. No. Richard, I have a new favourite. Number 8.
Number 8.
Number 8.
Okay.
Yep. So let me go back to that screen there. Now I'm going to reach for the EQs and see what I can pull. So a bit more low end on that. More of a scooped mid sound. I'm going to go extreme firstly. That's actually... I'm liking that. That's just with a little bit of mid. I mean, pulled back so it's down around 8 o'clock. I'm going to...
Just out of interest, what is your preferred actual cab of choice? Is it the 4x12 in the back there?
You know what, man? There's a Vox AC10 back here. I mentioned I did a record not that long ago, and we got Sean Tubbs to play some additional country guitar on there. I pulled that out just to put some guide tracks on this friend of mine's album. That little 8-inch speaker in that doesn't sound that good in person, but mic'd up is the right sound with no EQ to just sit in a song. It's amazing. And when I had Bob Spencer from Roast Tattoo on recently, he was saying when he was in the Angels that his guitar parts were recorded with an 8-inch speaker. I just called that an 8-inch. It's actually a 10-inch behind me. He was using an 8-inch speaker. But yeah, that little 10-inch in that back there sounds really cool, mic'd up. Yeah. In the flesh, Marshall 4x12 or Port City cab. I used to have 2 Port City oversized cabs. I don't know if you know those. They were the internet flavor of the week 10 years ago. And I had 2 of those. They sounded great in front of it. The low end was just thunderous. They didn't mic up so well, though. I must say, if I was, I'd mic it up, I'm like, oh, no, the vital lower mids just weren't there. It was all pulled right out. But I'm going to keep on tweaking away with this. I'll remember to go to the screen this time so people can see what I'm doing. Okay, with just a bit of a break, I can hear straight away I need a bit more of the mids back in there. And the treble. A little too much presence. Now, I'm going to hit the boost button. Don't make me do it. Don't make me do it. Oh, I did it. All right, so I'm just sort of giving it some light hits there, and then I'm going to back off the volume a touch. Just change my pickups. That's cool. Not as clean as when we had the gain cranked on the clean channel and did the same though.
Yep.
All right. Clean crunch lead. I'm not going to play any lead guitar, mate. As I said, I haven't actually touched a guitar to play in about 2 months now, and my fingers are hurting just playing chords, let alone embarrass myself with how sloppy I am. Give me 2 days and I'll be back in it. All right, that's a bit more mid-rangey. Scoop that some. The beautiful thing with this, Richard, is that for each preset, you can actually store a different cab, right? So yes. If you've got your clean sound, you can use one particular cab and use another cab for your dirties and stuff. So I've changed to that lead channel, and that's not the best rhythm sound, but it's a lead sound, so that's probably why. I'm going to put on a bit of reverb and delay and play some very sloppy lead guitar for you right now. Way too much reverb, but like I say, mate, just covering that I haven't played in a while. Okay, so I said when I went to play it, maybe we got the wrong cab going. But you know what? That's where a lead guitar sound should sit. You don't want to have those other sounds. You want it to jump out a little bit in the mix. Ultra. Tell us about the Ultra channel, mate. What's that aimed at?
The Ultra channel is the super high gain channel. Cool. The idea behind that is a more modern voicing. It's super bassy. It's super high saturation, if you want that. And this is for guys who are playing maybe progressive metal, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
There is kind of a secret hidden second use for it that a YouTuber, Kafir or Cheon, showed me. You know Kafir, right?
No, I don't.
You must be familiar. You don't know Kafir?
I don't check out many other guys, man. I don't want to get spooked by what other good guys are out there.
Oh, okay. Well, Kafir's channel is slightly different. He's based out in Israel, Kafir, and he does covers of famous rock songs.
Okay.
And he likes to get amazing kind of 80s lead sounds. He's a big Prince fan, for example. He likes Gary Moore, and he won't go to the Crunch channel to get those sounds. He will take his Les Paul or whatever guitar he's using across to the Ultra channel and turn the gain down.
Well, let's give that a shot.
No one else thought of doing that.
Let's give that a
You gotta
shot.
try it out.
Yep. Okay. Let me just go over here. So I did notice when we changed the sounds that all the EQ settings changed with changing that. I'm not sure if that does that happen on the amp as you change the channels. Do the EQ settings change? I was seeing that happening in the app.
The knobs don't physically turn, no, but they will change.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. I mean, just the remembered values of them.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that brings me to something, mate. As we're talking, I'm sort of remembering bits and pieces of our conversations we had in Germany. The knobs and the remembering the positions, that was come from a washing machine design or something?
Yeah.
I'm remembering right,
yeah, we call it smart rotary controls, and Mr. Engineer Bernd Schneider got the idea from a washing machine where you can, it's like a programmable resistor network behind the knobs back there, and that's how you remember the different settings.
Okay, cool. I will have a bit of a play with the Ultra channel. Let me go to this so you guys can see what I'm doing. That doesn't need all that reverb. Oh, okay. We don't need that delay either, so I'll just turn him off. Come on, mouse. How about I just use that trackpad underneath instead? Bam, that's a bit more reliable. All right, let's try and scoot those mids a little. Hey, I just noticed something.
What?
They interact. As I pulled the treble right down, and this is a good thing, you're looking at me like I'm about to say something bad. They interact. As I pulled the treble right back, the mids boosted, the lower mids boosted. Not in the way of just subtractive. It's very much like how a Vox amp works, how the EQs actually interact with each other. That was a good hey, by the way. It was like, hey, I hear what you're doing. Oh, Monty, I hear you. Most EQs don't do that. That's why I just
don't know.
That got my ear there. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to be a bit more extreme with my turning of the knobs. Definitely. I don't know if you folks can hear that, but as I pull that treble back, there's definitely a boost happening in the mids down around, I'm guessing around 600, if anybody's into that kind of thing. Cool. There was my mouse completely taking off of me again. Oh, it doesn't want to play ball. Now, you mentioned about pulling the gain right back on that. Now, did you say this chap turns it like all the way off to get a cleaner sound, or is that more his plexi kind of sound?
No, not more of a plexi sound. There's still drive in there, and you'll realize when you turn the gain down that even when you're at 9 o'clock or something, there is a lot of gain. Yep. But, yeah.
I really should have set this up so that when I went to the screenshots, it actually had my face in the little circle there, huh? I thought you'd be talking more as I was doing it there, but it doesn't make sense for you to be talking while I'm playing because nobody will hear you.
Exactly.
What does the boost do on this one then? So Okay, so earlier you said that the boost function does different for each channel, and I'm hearing that on some of it was either the clean or the crunch. It actually added a bit more of a mid-range hump as a tube screamer style pedal would, but it's not doing it on this Ultra. It's just giving you more gain without
more gain. Exactly.
Yeah, just
and less of a volume boost. Yep.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to ask you this, whether I'm making stuff up, but as I'm turning the treble right up there, I didn't have it showing. I'm just going to do that again. Let me go to this. I just cranked the treble there, and that's scooping the mids. I can hear the mids pulling out of it. And it's actually a different frequency range to what we had on the other channels. So is that what they've got happening here? Am I getting too in-depth? For each channel, is the EQs affecting different parts of the frequency range? Do you know if that's something that it is?
Yeah, it's all a little bit different, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay. So it's not like, a standard amplifier where you're stuck with, this tone stack sounds like this amp, or this tone stack sounds like this. The tone stack changes from each channel. That's
exactly,
kind of cool. Yeah. That's kind of cool. I like that. What I was going to say is that as I'm turning that treble right up, let me just go to that. I like that because that's actually smoothing out my mids without adding too much narkiness to it. All right. Rich, I like it. I like it.
Good.
Can I have one? Oh, I've already got one.
No. Send it back.
Stick one in my suitcase. I'm going to turn it off now, so just in case it's bringing any audio buzz into my system, because I didn't ideally set that up. I had it so that it's coming out of one interface, out of the headphone out and stuff, but it still sounded pretty cool. And I went, I'm going to run with that.
I can't wait to watch the video back and actually hear what it sounded like. Because I've been sat
because
here
you're
the whole
just hearing
time
ambient
just hearing
spill.
the ambient noise,
of this, cool. Is there anything I didn't touch on that with then, Rich?
I mean, I think we went through pretty much everything on the amp that there is to look at, the main features anyway.
Yeah.
Let me just have a look at the amp on my screen here, see if we've forgotten everything. No, we've basically gone through everything. I mean, from creating presets to using the amp as a more kind of standard 4-channel thing, it's all there. I mean, the one thing we haven't said is that you can take the settings that you've used there and transfer them to a live setting, no problem at all.
Yep.
You know, those presets that you've made there will transfer into a live venue perfectly.
Yeah. So I didn't actually save anything there, and it said Modern Crunch across the top the whole time. That's because that was the name of the preset that I went into and started messing with. But I could have saved each one of those as I was going along and created presets as I was going. Tap tempo, is that per preset or is that global? So what I was saying, can you, if you save the delay for your clean sound, is that then going to be the same if you turn on the delay in your lead sound? Or you get what I'm saying? Like, is it a global tap tempo or per preset?
No, it's like if you have a delay saved in a preset, the next time you recall that preset, it will be at that tap tempo.
At that one. Okay, so it's not global,
exactly.
It's per preset. Cool.
Per preset,
Does the tap tempo, I see it that it's actually embedded in the little section of the delay there, so that doesn't actually affect the modulation effects, does it? No.
It doesn't, no.
But, you know, if we see that in future revisions, then they're going to call it the hallucinator after me for suggesting it.
Writing it down right now.
I need to come up with a better name than that. The holosonic switch or something. Or the Rickhead. Cool. Rich, thank you so much for taking me through that, mate. Anything you want to touch on? We got any questions for Richard? From anybody?
Is anyone still watching?
yes, there's people in there, and we got a couple. As I said, mate, a lot of these get views after the fact. I'm just going to have a quick scan through the comments, which I have in front of me, that we haven't missed anything. See, I was so enthralled with your conversation there, mate, that I wasn't actually taking note of the chat tonight. But Gabor came and went and said hello, goodbye, and like I said, it's all our European friends in there. Gabor, well, he's European via Australia, or is it the other way? Australian via Europe. Mo wants to know, Rich, which amp do you play?
Which amp do I play? Well, at the moment, I do play a Black Spirit 200. I actually have a combo. I love the combo because I've always been about kind of a one amp that does everything solution thing. Okay. I went through a big phase where I didn't want to carry heads and cabs around, that kind of stuff. And the Black Spirit 200 combo has this Tila small cabinet construction, and it has a beautiful UK-made Celestian creamback in it, which sounds fantastic. Really? So there's literally everything I could want in one package there. In terms of which amp have I played the most over the past few years, it's actually a Yamaha THR. That was my practice amp for a long time. I still use it at home. It's great.
Yeah. What type of music do you get into personally, mate? I'm gonna drop the. We've done the H&K talk there. I want to know about Richard Morgan. What type of music do you get into personally?
Fascinating topic. I would say at the moment I'm in a sort of a folk punk direction. So my favorite bands at the moment are bands like Brian Fallon, Gaslight Anthem, Nada Surf, that kind of stuff.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So Guitar Heroes, that kind of stuff has never really been my thing. I remember when I was getting into guitar, kind of when I was 10 or 12 or whatever, I was a massive AC/DC fan back then. I still love classic rock, but I never really got into Angus. I was all about the Malcolm, holding that rhythm down. Yeah. And that's been my thing ever since.
That's funny.
I probably should have learned to shred when I was a kid because now it's too late, you know.
Yeah, But no, mate, 90% of the gig is playing rhythm guitar. And if you can recognize that, I always have that little joke that usually the faster somebody basses they're playing on, the worse likely you would be to try and hire them to sit in or play on your record unless you were that way orientated, because they generally suck at rhythm guitar. But I'm with you. Malcolm Young. It's really fascinating with the AC/DC brothers. Malcolm's sound is very or lower mids, whereas Angus has got the upper mids,
Yeah.
Combine those.
It meshes so well.
You get or and E at the same time, and that it fills the whole spectrum, doesn't it? You know, it's impossible to make that sound, both sounds at the same time. But actually, when I interviewed Bob Spencer a couple of weeks ago, and he's the guy from Roast Tattoo that I mentioned, who's coming back I'm going to see if he can change it from Tuesday to Monday, but I have got him slated for this coming Tuesday. He referred to his sound as gonk, and that was what he searches for in a sound. He's got no gonk or something. I think that was the word. But the way he said it, I just looked at him and said, "Man, I know exactly what you're talking about." That's a war. Yeah. Anything there? We saw the bring back the big tube. I did see that it said there was a slight echo in your voice, and that's probably me not wearing headphones. So I do apologize, and I wish I had saw that earlier, because I could have actually turned you down a bit, but nobody said anything. We want to see Rich's pedalboard and guitar collection. Now, you're at the office today, aren't you? So, you got some guitars behind you there.
Yeah, I got a couple behind. I'm all sort of cabled up. We might have to do another video where I'm not cabled up so I can show that kind of thing.
Yeah.
My number one guitar is my Telly over in the back corner there.
Which we can't see.
Can you? Shall I uncable myself and take the headphones off and go get it, or?
Hang on, mate. Actually, my screen. No, I can see it. I just had my screen.
Can you see it?
Yeah. I actually can. It's a blue one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually it's a Mexican Telecaster. It was a Fender special run. It's about 5 or 6 years old. I got it brand new. I tested a load of different guitars. I've always been sort of a Telly sort of a fan. I love the aggression of the bridge pickup. I love the fact that you can do everything with them. And I tried this one, and it was perfect. So you don't always need to buy a more expensive guitar. The only modification I've got on it is I've stuck a wide range humbucker in the neck by a UK brand called the Creamery. Fantastic sort of low gain, vintage sounding humbucking pickup in the neck. Lovely.
Nice. So we were talking about Malcolm Young and being such a great rhythm player. When I see a Telecaster with a humbucker in the neck position like that, I instantly think Keith Richards. Who again is one of the other greatest rhythm guitarists of all time. Just the way he can push and pull the rhythms of that band. I've never owned a Telecaster with a humbucker in the bridge. I never owned a Telecaster until, it sounds like forever, like 10 years ago. And it's like, well, that's a long time ago, but I've been playing guitar since the late 80s. So it's a recent acquisition. I've got one back there somewhere, a Fender Richie Kotzen. This is all backwards to me. Let's see if I can do this. That guy there.
No, whoa, other way.
No, you see, you're seeing a different camera, mate, but that guy there. Yeah, that's a Fender Richie Kotzen. And it wasn't until I actually got that I realized that one of the sounds I was chasing for the longest time, and I was trying to get out of a Strat, was a Telecaster middle position. That's that great rhythm guitar sound. And because of that, my guitars actually have a switch so that I've got to hide my face or else it's going to try and focus on me. That switch there, I can actually turn the neck position on so that I can get the bridge and middle positions at the same time. Not 100% there, but it's that ballpark Telecaster sound. And ever since I brought that onto my guitars, cover band gigs, I find I use that a lot for that jangly rhythm guitar, the fake Telecaster sound.
Yeah. Telecasters, they're surprisingly versatile guitars.
They are,
before I played them, I thought they would be incredibly boring, and I thought they would not be for me, but it's kind of like, they're so simple, but they can do so much.
And it was the very first mass-produced electric guitar. I mean,
Leo
Fender.
Yeah, you got it right first time, didn't they?
Yeah, some people say, I always used to say he got it right the second time with the Stratocaster before I got that. And I still am a Strat guy. I was always a very skinny lad when I was a teenager learning to play guitar, and anything with just a hard edge on it really hurt. It dug into my ribs and my forearms, and which is why I go for the contours of a Strat. But I've got an interview up on my channel with studio legend Louis Shelton, which, that's had over 120,000 views now.
Wow.
Yeah. And I had a 1952 Telecaster here, original. And Louis had told me that his first ever guitar was an original 52, which he got in 52. So Louis, I think I mentioned him to you. He's played on all the stuff from the Monkees. That was his first gig, through to Jackson 5, Lionel Richie, all these huge stuff. Like every time I go to the grocery store, I'm sitting there walking around going, man, he's on every second song that's playing in the shops. It's funny. I didn't tell him I had it here, and I sprung it on him, and then the conversation flowed from that. It's a great video, worth checking out. But when I said that I thought Leo got it right the second time, he sort of looked at me and said, second time? No, man, he got it right the first time, I think. And in the hands of a master, it does sing. Funnily enough, you said that you can cover a lot of bases with the Telecaster. There's an Australian progressive metal band called Dead Letter Circus, and I had their guitar player on in one of my first live chats, and he's using a Telecaster, and I was asking him, you got some high gain super duper pickups in it or something? No, it's just the stock Fender ones, and he's cutting it for the metal in that.
Interesting.
Yeah. What else you got behind you there, mate? Anything worth pointing out? I see a bunch of pedals.
Can you see them down there? Yeah, they're not attached to the board. I'm in between boards.
Okay.
So
just waiting for that moment when you are bored.
If they're looking at it. Yeah, exactly. So I'd say the 3 or 4 favorites that are on there would be the Wampler Pantheon, which is kind of a blues breakery sort of gain pedal.
Mm-hmm.
I actually spend a lot of time on my Black Spirit as a clean platform. I use a lot of pedals.
Yep.
Then we've got the Bodner Lagrange, Lagrange, if you want to call it that for a bit more game. There is a UK-built Klon next to it on the left. I hope you guys can actually see this.
We can see it back there, yeah.
The white one in the middle is an Empress ecosystem, which does all the delay stuff and more that I could ever need. A lot of analog delay, very nice, very warm. And the other favorite at the moment is up in the top left corner there. That is a Source Audio Collider, which is a delay reverb. It has the most popular algorithms from their Ventris and from their other one, the name of which I can't remember. Maybe someone in the comments knows.
We'll call it Bill.
Bill.
We now name it Bill, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
those
that's
are the
some
favorites.
pretty boutiquey kind of stuff that you got there.
I've actually deliberately named the most expensive pedals on there. There's also a Joe YouTube Screamer, a couple of TC pedals, a flashback delay, and a sub and up octaver is on there, and a compressor. There's a Polytune and the Dodd Carcosa fuzz pedal, which I'm going to swap out, I think. Yeah. But recently I've come across another thing, and a big thing, which is going to go on that board and is going to change the whole thing, but I'm not allowed to tell you what it is yet, for reasons that you'll find out over the next few months.
Sure. So Gabor is actually saying, just looking at the comments there, in fact, in case we have anybody who doesn't know who we keep talking about, Gabor, he is from the super fun, awesome, happy time pedal show. I got it right. Yay! Because I had to read it. Gabor, you know you can change that, right? Call it the Gabor and Alex show. Go on. Gabor's saying he's been getting into wide range pickups lately. Great sounding pickups. Wide range. If you're still there, Gabor, is that the brand name, or are you saying pickups that have a wide range?
It's that Fender humbucker that you see on the Tele Deluxe.
Oh, okay.
Because I just pieces. You got like 3 pole pieces out on the bass side.
I know exactly what you're saying. Yep.
I don't know anything about the specific technical stuff or the magic behind them, but I don't know. They have a great feel and response about them for me as well. Yeah.
I just had a, of course, dickhead moment as soon as you said that, because those are cool wide range pickups. Got really tight with the third guitar. He got it right. He got it really right with the third guitar, the Jazzmaster. Yeah,
also true.
You like those?
I'm a big Offset fan. Yeah. I need to get one. Yeah, it's next on my list.
I haven't spent much time on them. I don't remember ever playing one live, or in a live situation, or spending any time on one, except wrapping my hand around one in a music store and going, oh, that feels different, without actually pulling it off the rack. So I'm going to have to give one a go. Yeah,
I think they're the kind of guitar that they're sort of specific to certain genres. You know, a Strat or a Tele or a Les Paul, you can basically do anything with.
Yeah.
But with a Jazzmaster or a Jaguar, it's like you instantly want to play the Smiths, indie stuff, post-rock, ambient noodling, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I don't think they will do stuff like metal or anything like that. Yeah. Maybe Gabor can correct me on that, but I don't think so.
Yeah. Gabor did say that he is, because he's an Austrian-Australian. Hey, that has a ring about it. Gabor, the Austrian-Australian. Man, he was our saving grace a couple of times at dinner in Germany there, being able to translate what types of schnitzel were on offer for us, because
exactly.
It was all schnitzel and chips. So you speak German fluently, yeah?
Yeah, I do. It was actually really weird, because when I met Gabor for the first time, we were talking in German.
Oh, really?
And I had no idea that he also could. I just assumed, because he sounds so Australian on the show. But then the name Gabor, I always thought, well, there must be some kind of ancestry thing in there. And I think he has there's Hungarian in there somewhere too. No, Austrian. Yeah, Austrian.
He just said before he's the Austrian-Australian.
Yeah, exactly.
So you said he sounds very Australian. So
to me, Gabor sounds quintessential Australian.
I don't think so at all, because neither of my parents are Australian. I'm a first-generation Australian, and some people get that mixed up. They think I mean convict era, but no, first generation means I'm the first generation of my family born in Australia. Most Aussies talk like this, eh? And they got this really bad thing going on now where they all fucking talk like this. And even the newsreaders and that, you cut to a news story and they're going, yeah, right, mate. Yeah, I was down there, I was checking this stuff out. And I'm just like, when the fuck did you guys start talking like that? Like, when I was watching TV in the 70s, the Australian TV presenters were really well spoken and almost sound English. I remember the quintessential Aussie blokes back then, Brian Brown, Jack Thompson, by today's standards almost sound English. So Gabor has got that well-spoken Aussie thing going on. Yeah. Which I think is desirable on the international front.
It's a Hungarian name.
It's a Hungarian name. Well, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
yeah.
I remembered one thing from 42 Gear Street as well.
Yeah. That was a great thing that Henning put on. Henning does a lot behind the scenes that people probably aren't aware of, right? In organising all these kinds of things. And I take my hat off to the guy, mate. I've got him actually on the show. What day is it today? We are Wednesday. I've got him on Friday. That should be a lot of fun. So
that will be your longest one yet. That's the one thing I can say.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to pick his
based
brains.
on his normal videos.
Yeah, that's a one thing I don't sit around watching long videos. He's very good at those, but I'm more into bang, give it something to me, sell it to me in 5 minutes. And I didn't even know he had animals at the end until a lot longer down the road, until I actually watched one to the end, and he went, yeah, as usual. But I'm going to pick his brains because a lot of people think that being a guitar YouTuber is just, give me that guitar. Oh, next, give me that one. And they don't understand the amount of editing and organisation that goes on behind the scenes. So it'd be good to talk to him just to show people that it's not just sitting around playing guitar all day. Far from.
No, Henning in particular is he's a hard worker.
Absolutely.
I think 7 days a week he's on his game, There is a video every day. They're long videos. I mean, obviously the switching is done live, but he has to edit them. The production values that he has are also massive.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think he has a better studio than most of the TV channels in Germany. In his basement, it's crazy. But Henning does everything 1,000%. It's not worth doing it well. You've got to be the best, and that's his way of doing things.
That's right.
Love him or hate him.
Yep. And it's funny. I remember talking to Philip McKnight when we were over there, and he was saying that his most popular videos are ones that he's shot with a GoPro stuck to his forehead as he's doing stuff, and that he doesn't care about whether it's 4K or any of that kind of stuff. He goes, it doesn't matter, man. It's about the content. And I got to say, I mentioned the interview with Louis that I did, which had 110, 120,000 views and rising. That was done on my iPhones, a couple of iPhones, which half of them ran out of battery halfway into it. And I've had a couple of people go, oh, geez, your cameraman should have been shot at the end. It's like, mate, there's only one camera left, and I wasn't about to interrupt the guy telling me these great stories to say, oh, let's just fix this. But no, Henning stuff's always top-notch quality. Everything's 4K, and I know just on stuff that I've done there, he's like, there's too much ambient noise in the background. Why didn't you cut that out? Why didn't you cut that out? It's like, I didn't think it mattered. But yeah, he's definitely one to cross the T's and dot the I's.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
he has his own thing, and he is Henning. As Gabor has just written, nothing Henning does is normal, and I think that sums him up extremely well.
I got to say, it was such a spin out when I actually walked into that studio for the first time. It's one thing to see it, but when you walk into a place like that and see it in 3D, that was the big trip out. I remember sitting in the couch at the back of the room. It's a lot deeper. It's twice the depth that I thought it was going to be, his room. And then I can just remember looking around and just spinning out going, there's that rack of amplifiers, but I'm seeing it in 3 dimensions right there. This is weird, Great studio, great guy. Richard, anything else you want to touch on? Is there anybody that has any questions for us before we wound things up? Because I've kept you for a long time, mate. You've probably got places to go, and
I've got to go back to work, unfortunately. As rock and roll as this has been, I've got to go back to answering emails and talking to people on Facebook.
All the fun stuff that actually is work.
The job, yeah.
The job,
There is
yeah.
that too. Yeah.
Well, it beats lugging bricks for a living, mate. You know, you're working with the guitar company and everything. A guitar amp company.
Could be worse, couldn't it?
Could be worse,
What we get
absolutely.
to do, it could be an awful lot worse.
Yeah. Richard, I must thank you so much for your time. Folks, have I got an audience here? Richard Morgan, Hughes and Kettner, thank you very much. People, thank you. Where am I looking? I'm down here. See you on the flip side.